All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the after show for the Magnus Carlsen Invitational. I am happy to be joined today by Sam Shanklin. He is back. He offered to come on today because he had some things to say. He obviously knows a lot about these American players that were facing each other today, and so I thought it would be good to bring him back for this specific matchup. How's it going, Sam?
That's good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I've just had a slightly long match that included me singing at the end with Anna Rudolph, which I'm sure
Singing.
I'm sure nobody appreciated. But I am now back and ready
What was
to.
it? Frau Jacques?
No, it wasn't. That would have been a great song choice. But no, it was Spice Girls. It was chosen by our opponents, and they beat us.
Okay.
And so
That's a shame.
Spice Girls Wannabe, which is I can't say it's one of my very favorite.
I
One of
don't
my
actually know this song. How does it go?
If you want to be my lover, you've got to get
Yeah,
ready
I just
for
tricked you
me.
into singing
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Uh,
I think I saw you coming there, but
yeah.
it's okay. Um,
All right.
so here we go. We are here. Hopefully, everybody can see us, hear us in the chat. Let me just. I'm jumping right into the games today because we're starting a little bit late. Um,
Mhm.
so I went. Oh, actually, my board is a little. I see that on the scene. The board is a little. Let
Would you
me.
mind sharing screen so I can see your board?
Indeed, I will. I will. I'm just trying to figure out why the sizing is a little funky, um, which normally it's not like that. But let me first, I guess I can share my screen with you. My daughter is in the background somehow complaining about something.
Uh, that's
Now,
what
I
kids
lost your
do.
video, so I'm going to do this again. When I share my screen, for some reason, the video gets a little bit blurry, so I
You don't
apologize
need to
for
share
that.
it. I can follow along
No,
if
no,
I'm full.
I'm sharing it. But I do have to figure out the size of my board because that part is a problem. I'm just going to redo this. I apologize for the slow start. Why don't you tell us a little bit about today's matches while I figure things out here?
Oh, I mean, again, it's not so. The results weren't really surprising to me. I mean, the only match at all that has surprised me in terms of how it's gone in this entire event. I mean, I guess Anish beating Magnus was somewhat surprising, but even that is not that baffling. I mean, Magnus is the best player in the world, but he's also a human being. Well, the only thing that surprised me this entire tournament was Ferrugia losing 4-0. I mean, it's not surprising Hikaru beat him, but to whitewash him like that is something else. But yeah, to have 2.5, 1.5, and 2-2, these are normal results for these guys. I guess it was. I mean, Hikaru is now doubling and tripling down on this Queen's Gambit declines. I mean, even to the point that Caruana, who is not an exclusively E4 player, but is pretty heavily favoring E4 for the most part for throughout most of his career, is just like, no, D4. I mean, he sees this opening and he smells blood. And I even thought that Caruana didn't get as much against Hikaru as like Ferrugia or Magnus did. But somehow, even the way he was playing, which was I at least looked less challenging from my precursory glance. It felt like even then Hikaru was suffering, and I don't know why Hikaru keeps doubling and tripling down on this. Maybe he just understands it better than me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've been surprised by his going for this opening over and over again too. I mean, it just to me seems like I mean, if anything, I don't know about the evaluation. Like it's a little beyond me to evaluate whether it holds or doesn't hold, but it just really doesn't seem fun. Like it just really seems like a
No,
sort
I
of.
mean it depends about what you enjoy, what makes you happy in chess. If what makes you happy is not necessarily playing fun positions but winning games, then you don't really care if it looks fun or not if it gets the job done. But I just don't think this is getting the job done. It looks like he's suffering seriously every single game in worse positions, and I don't know. I mean, like he's making it work. He's tied for first, right? I mean, it's not like he's completely getting clobbered, but
No, no,
I would
agreed.
be dubious of this.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm ready to go through the games. Again, I'm sorry for my getting started a little bit fast here, but all right. So they start. Um, with the same position that Hikaru has had. What is it, like
Well, I
7 times
don't
now?
know. I mean, and Caruana goes H4, which
Yeah.
is looks a little bit wacky to me. I mean, I know that all these AI engines are constantly playing H4 and A4 in every single position, but I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it's not a bad move, but I don't necessarily think that simpler ones are bad either. I mean, Magnus was playing H3 if I recall, but
Yeah, I think a
uh,
bunch of them have played. A few of them have played H3, and yeah, I mean, and for some reason, Black has been playing H6, which is a move I haven't completely understood, frankly. But
I
um,
haven't understood these at all. I mean, I probably should be looking more closely, but I don't know. Somehow this opening, it's just I would never touch this from the black side.
yeah, and now Fabiano, after the game when he was interviewed, said that 94 the computer thinks is pretty weak, but I don't know. Hikaru seemed to think it was okay. So, but uh, I didn't think it was a very pleasant position that he got in this game. Did you think it was
No, this
okay
looked
for?
deeply unpleasant for black to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I don't know. It's like you have to do something extremely direct, or else things are going to get very bad very fast. Like this, your bishop is so bad, and like white has easy play on a lot of squares, and you don't ever really want to play bc5 because then white gets a weak b6 square to work with. I don't know. I mean, just
Yeah.
aesthetically, this it's very hard to justify. And I mean, I get it's easy for me to criticize Hikaru just sitting in my chair here, having not really prepared this line, certainly not to the extent that he has. But I know I'm really sort of befuddled that he keeps going for it.
Yeah. Um, so this game, stop me if there's something. Yeah. So it did go sort of a very forceful course here that led to a position that
Yeah.
seemed.
So I mean, something like this. I mean, basically, this strikes me as this feels like a dream come true for Hikaru. It's like, well, he's exchanged off a bunch of pieces, and he's still somewhat solid. And even this position looks deeply unpleasant to me. I'm sure that in a classical game you're not going to lose it, but in a rapid game with your king open like that, it's even if you're not facing any direct attacks, there's just going to be constant little tactics and tricks at every single juncture you're going to have to look out for. I mean, I think this went as well as for Hikaru as he could possibly have hoped for, given his opening choice, and I still don't like his position.
Yeah. I mean, um, yeah. I guess the reason it's unpleasant for black is just the king is never quite safe, and even if you're up a pawn, that pawn is weak, and so it's
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it's like, of course, if you take that e4 pawn and put it on g6, then like black's going to be up a pawn, not
Yeah.
a great pawn, but good chances. But this king is just it's so bad. And as soon as we get like rough material, if we can get to like rough material parity, like let's say if white can win the e4 pawn and while black wins the c5 pawn, this is going to get really ugly. So,
Yeah.
for example, here if Hikaru were to take on c5, if I imagine queen g4, queen e4 is it's really bad for black.
Yeah,
So.
right. That position, if he plays queen c, they get a material equality like this. But now the king is weak. This pawn is weak. Black would like to put their pawn from e6 to g6, and they'd be probably not too far from equality there.
Yeah, that'd be
Uh,
fine.
yeah,
Also here, it's like it depends. The structure means that it's going to be a little bit harder for black to, for example, like if you could just imagine this position, we take off the queens and the c6 pawn. So like I don't know, black allows rook c1 or something, and then gets the queens off but loses a pawn while he's at it. Like a rook endgame like this one, I think is going to be a very difficult defense. While if he had a healthier pawn structure, it would be very easy. I mean, here the problem is white's king will just run up to a square like h5, and it's going to be very annoying to like
yeah,
stop threats of like rook g4 check, king h6, things like that.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
This is going to be very
So
difficult for
still
black.
a even though this seemed like a dream from where he started, it's still not that not that great a dream, I guess. Not that pleasant of a dream. So,
Yeah.
um, and the game. I mean, nothing incredibly special happened until he gets to this position, and he's up a pawn, but that pawn is sort of hard to hold, and Fabiano got sort of his rook. They traded a pair of rooks. He gets his this position, and now I think Hikaru could have held much longer than he did. Like there was no, it shouldn't be
In a
lost.
rapid game, this is
Yeah, and
crazy difficult.
it's just hard with the king so weak, right? To
I mean, I think if you gave Hikaru like, even if he had been playing classical but had like used a lot of time and had something like 10 minutes left, but had time control at move 40 in a 30-second increment, I think the odds of him losing this are very, very low.
Yeah.
But I think he will hold it almost every time, in fact. But with under these circumstances, I don't think so at all.
Someone in the chat, what's worse, this Queen's Gambit decline or Nepomniachtchi's French defense? And at least you may have a different opinion, but in my opinion, the French defense is a much broader thing, and he's actually gotten. I don't think his position has been that horrible in the French. It's not. I think the culprits for his losses have not really been the opening or the preparation.
I think it depends on the time control. I think in classical, the French defense is going to be worse, and in rapid, the French is more playable, and this is worse.
Right, because this one, I guess you're pretty passive. That makes sense. It's passive, and
the French, I think it's like I think this one objectively is probably a better opening in terms of its like the evaluation of the position, but in the practical level, it's worse because you have like no counterplay. While in the French, you can sort of imagine things turning around in various ways that Nepomniachtchi has sort of been able to demonstrate. But the slower the time controls get, the more objective merit as opposed to practical merit becomes important. So I think in faster time controls, this is the worst option, while in slower time controls, the French would be asking for trouble more.
Yeah, no, that I think that makes a lot of sense. So here, I mean, because we have a lot of games to get through, I'll just kind of get to the point. But the position got very bad when he doubled on the 8th, and then here Hikaru blundered rookie 7, I guess. Well, it's already looking pretty bad though. I think this position, he did make a blunder here in a few moves. Yeah, this rookie 7 was but here I think I looked at it afterwards, and even though rookie 7 is a blunder, it's just lost. Like there's no
Good
way
luck
to
holding this. I mean,
no.
Queen d6 is on the way. What do you want to do? Like it's
no, I think this one is just lost already. Yeah.
Yeah, this is bad news.
Yeah. So here he hung this, but there was actually a cute move, rook takes e6, which was not played in the game. But Queen d6 is just completely winning. He's playing rook e6 next.
That is.
So just a bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If Caruana had to find rook e6, I'm sure he would have. But you see Queen d6, you make the move, you hit the clock. There's nothing else to it. So yeah, this I don't know. And obviously, this isn't going to hold for black.
Yeah, no, this is really bad. All right, so game 2, Hikaru came back. He didn't let him run away with it. Far from it.
Yeah, so actually this one was interesting because it was covered in my Semislav course. I mean,
yeah,
like
I was going to ask
Caruana clearly prepared the Slav for the candidates just based on how he played, but he was playing the classical Slav, not the Semislav. Nonetheless, this Queen C2 line would be relevant in both variations, and according to my analysis, knight bd7 is seriously inaccurate for exactly the reason that Hikaru demonstrated. After knight bd7, knight c4, black is left in a tough spot because if he takes the queen, then after ab3, this very basic threat of knight a5 is actually extremely annoying to prevent because you can't defend the pawns very easily, and this position I think is very difficult for black. So instead, Caruana played queen a6, which is the natural course of action. And then after queen a6, bishop f4, I think black is a bit worse because he's going to get abused on the d6 square. And basically, I came up with this idea that black needs to play rook d8, and that this specific, instead of knight d7, and that this specific line for white, if you go back to the position after, like, say, 6 g3, if you go back to move g3
move 6, yeah, sure, g3.
Basically, like, the idea that on any of the next, like, 5 moves, black could play knight bd7 and that it would be a serious mistake, I think makes this a very tricky variation for white to play. And in fact, after I always thought this was basically, this line, white doesn't have to go for queen b3, but I always thought the queen b3 idea was pretty toothless. But then when I realized it was trickier while doing the Semislav repertoire and realizing that black really should be delaying knight bd7, I actually decided to give it a try with white, and I beat Ray Robson in like 12 moves or something because he played knight bd7.
And so in the second game, in the
Yeah,
next game where
Caruana
they
improved.
yeah, he improved and played your recommendation, I think, right?
Yes, he played rook d8. Now, I doubt it was because he went and bought my course in the middle. I mean, it's because, I mean, like, if he
in the middle of the blitz games, he decided,
fully
I got
aware
in
that
trouble.
Caruana is capable of preparing his own openings without copying everything I say. And also, of course, he prepared the slot for the candidates. I'd be shocked if it was specifically from my course that he came up with this idea. But at the same time, it's good that, I mean, well, he's a strong player, and it seems like he came to the same conclusion I did. So that makes me more confident in my assertions. But yeah, here basically this bishop d6 move is going to be extremely annoying.
Yeah, so the game I guess is a good example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually I don't know. It was interesting. I know the commentators thought that White didn't have much here, and I don't know if you've looked at this kind of endgame.
Well, at this point, I think no, but basically in this whole structure, it's all about whether black can get c5 through favorably, and the bishop on g2 does a pretty good job of stopping that because it's really ganging up on this long diagonal and the weakened b7 pawn. Basically, as soon as c5 was allowed, I think that black was immediately fine. So in fact, after bishop e4 on move 17, like if you look at after knight c4, this position here prior to bishop e4, black could not play c5 because it was hanging. So yeah, after knight c4, it just the real question is, can black get c5 through? And after bishop e4, rook fc1 is a very, very natural move, but I believe it's actually a mistake because after bishop g2 and then king g2, black gets c5, and this should equalize. I'm not sure what white should have done better, but it was maybe he could have taken on e4 and sort of argued that the knight would actually be a target after something like, say, bishop e4, knight e4, rook fc1. If c5 there is queen c2, and it becomes hard to hold everything together here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know, but these positions are tough because like they're a little unpleasant for black, but at the same time, white has to maintain a very high level of accuracy because the second c5 comes through, like you're not going to be better anymore. And this, I think, was the case. And I mean, well, Hikaru then outplayed him a second time to get a winning position again. But at this point here, I think black's absolutely fine.
Yeah, it was. I think I actually did sort of spot. I looked at this a little bit. I think this position was actually the critical one, and what Fabiano did here was very natural. He decided to include a3 b3 before playing knight d5, and that's natural because you're thinking, okay, in some cases my knight will come to c3 and take a2.
But what protected pass pawn? Like what? I mean,
what's that?
Give white a protected pass pawn.
Yeah, well, that's yeah. So after the game, I looked at knight d5, and knight d5 looks like it holds. And there's some like sort of, I think the key variation is if you play e4, and now I got to remember how it goes.
Here?
Yeah, I think it's b3, a3, and then there's knight c3.
But b3 there is a2, b3.
No, sorry, so it's not
start with knight c3.
Oh yes, sorry. It's knight c3 first. I knew it was a knight c3 idea.
Yeah, but like say this position, no, you can't take it because then b3.
Yeah, no, I know. I was just going to show that here the pawn queens. So you get this position, but now this is much better for black than the other version.
Right, because you don't have this like weak pawn on a3, and white has a protected pass through. That means every king and pawn ending is lost. So this would have been.
So this I think is just equal, really. Because
black should be fine.
There's knight d2, knight c4, and black is holding. It looks like.
I think white still has a moral advantage, and you'll. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Hikaru still would have tried and would have pushed, but I don't think he's there. But actually, I have to say, f3 was a fantastic move for him.
Yeah, f3 is a really good move.
Because he could play. He's clearly going to lose the e pawn for the b pawn. That's how he's going to make any kind of trouble. But so it'd be very natural to be very forcing about it and play e4. But the problem is after e4, knight c3, knight b4, knight e4, the black's knight is very close to the c3 square, which means that it's going to be hard to bring your knight away. Well, if you compare that to position after f3, when now if you allow e4 next, white's going to remain a pawn up for dead nothing. But after knight e3, knight b4, now this knight on e3 is not nearly as well placed. It's going to get booted by something like king f2 and lose. And if it goes towards c3, it will lose a lot of time. It cannot retreat back to d5 because pawn endgame will be lost. So this, I think, f3 was a fantastic move from Hikaru. I mean, e4 felt much more natural to me, but he really saw the right way.
Yeah, and now when the knight gets to c3, like you were saying, the
Not
problem is that
stable. Not fast enough.
he's not fast enough, and so here, yeah, he just gets in a position that's difficult, like the race.
Too close, and this is
Yeah.
this is gone.
He tried to get counterplay, but the two pass pawns, I guess.
This is not super serious. I mean,
No.
unless White makes some stupid move. But yeah, no, this was a great game from Hikaru. I mean, he came with a good opening idea, and unfortunately, he was inaccurate at some moment where he let Black get c5 through, and as a result, Black was probably fine, but he still managed to generate winning chances.
And that knight endgame was the move f3 was great. So next game, not surprised, the opening resembles the previous one.
E4 again and knight e4 again, so same position. And who was the first to deviate this time?
This is still all the same.
Okay, Caruana took on a6 instead of Caruana took on a6 instead of castle.
Instead of castles, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, and so they got this strange position where like after it takes, like Black is, as soon as so bishop takes a5 comes, and if White could ever fix this bishop, Black can basically resign even after he takes h4. Like if White could somehow reroute this bishop to c5 and play a4, the game is totally over. But that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
And so I mean, again, I thought that Caruana wasn't pressuring this line as much as some of the other guys Hikaru was trying it against. Certainly not as much as Magnus, but
the other lines that they got were a little more.
Because this position, I mean, at first glance, this didn't seem so bad for Black to me. It felt like you should have good kingside counterplay, and perhaps you throw e5 at some point. The more you look at it,
the computer liked it a lot for White for some reason, and so I think that's probably why he went for it. But
I mean, the more I looked, the more I thought White was better. But my initial instinct when looking was that Black had to be fine. But this plan of rook c1 and if queen c2, rook c1 is annoying. If you ever play e5, there's always rook d1, so you don't really care. It's funny that with this bishop, I mean, this bishop on a5 is an idiot, but at the same time, in order to keep it there, Black has to keep his rooks on bad squares. Right. For example, after rook c1, rook c8, queen e2 on the next few moves.
Rook c1, rook c8, queen e2.
Like queen e2, like Black would not really want to play rook a8, putting his rook back on a passive square. But if rook a, the other rook, then bishop b6 comes, and I think this is horrible for Black. Bishop c5 comes next, and it's just bad news. Really, really bad.
Yeah, and I guess the bishop on a5, it's like if it's occupying two rooks, then it's not terrible.
Yeah, still, Black is still reasonably solid, and it's not so easy to break through. And his kingside play is coming. And here, Caruana decided to sacrifice the exchange, which
he likes exchange sacrifices. He plays a lot of different exchange sacrifices, I find, but
I don't know. I mean, it's this one I think was a very understandable one, but somehow here, I think f5 was a very good move that Caruana may have missed. Like he was probably imagining queen h4 and rook h5 coming very quickly. And I think f5 holds things together very nicely. And
I
think if I recall, the computer was saying Black was better here, but I find it very unlikely Black will ever win this game. It's so hard to do anything with those rooks.
Yeah, it seemed like even the final position the computer liked for Black, but it's not.
I mean, the computer hated g3 and king g2 and queen e2 from Caruana. It hated all of those moves, and still here, like, go show me a winning plan. I mean, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know what Black's winning plan would be, because as soon as they go with the rook, the c6 pawn is hard to hold, and I don't know.
Well, I think the idea would be like get g4 through before White gets g4, and then go hang all your pawns and give checkmate on the back rank or something.
Because even if we trade like the d for the c pawn, I'm not sure. Like, would you ever really?
At this point, there's nothing left. I think Black's only hope was to get g4 through before White could play g4, so that he has stopped e4, f3, and d5, and then at some point, like hang his c6 and e6 pawns to the rook while his rooks go try to give mate on the first rank. But I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. So then the next game they repeat. So they played twice. With both colors they played the same opening. So this time Fabiano goes for the.
And he went for rook d8. He went for rook d8 immediately. Yeah, I'm sure his guys told him in between games that rook d8 was the best move.
Yeah.
And here there's nothing. Like Black is absolutely fine. And
I think you mentioned speaking to Rustam in between the games.
So Kazim had it right. Yeah, because here after knight c4, queen a6, like if white were to play bishop f4, and then black were to play knight bd7, that would transpose back into the problematic line. But you could, but white can instead, black can, after bishop f4, black can play bishop e4, and then he's ready for c5 next, and black is equalizing very easily. This is what I gave in my chessable course.
You're threatening bishop d5, I guess, with b5.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with a sensible move for white that blunders it. I mean, I guess like you could be an idiot and play rook fd1, but like for example, I think rook fc1 would be the typical move in these positions anyway, so I'd expect that to happen. And now, if I recall, I gave c5, dc, and knight bd7 is equal. I think this is how I suggested to play, which is pretty similar to how the game ended up going.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there's knight d6. You take on c5. Yeah, that's the.
Yeah, and this is
a bunch of things get traded, and you're quite okay.
Yeah, we got c5 through, and we neutralized the g2 bishop. There's nothing too tough for black there. But yeah, I did cover this line in my chessable course.
Dropping some opening knowledge here today. So all right, so they played bishop d2, knight d7. So now knight d7 is okay because he doesn't have that pressure on d6.
Yes, if white had played bishop f4, black would have been in time for c5, I think, and then stopping all the d6 problems. Yeah, actually, bishop e4 was a mistake. I think black should have gone rook a c8 and smashed through with c5.
Okay.
After bishop e4, he's definitely fine, but this one I couldn't actually figure out what white was going to do about c5 coming next.
Yeah, that looks. I guess sometimes white has to be careful too.
Yeah, he's never going to be more than a little worse here, and it should be fine. But like, if you can imagine c5 coming through in a position like that, and black has rooks on d8 and c8, and you have real trouble activating the rook on a1, you can sort of see how it can become a little uncomfortable.
Okay, so
instead, all this happened, and this is very much
this one it's very similar in looks to the other position, but black is even more fine than in the other game.
Yeah, well, in the other game, like what was happened was white's king was coming to the center faster, and like here we have a situation where not only is that not the case, but also white's rook on a1 is not particularly special, and so this one was unsurprising that it was drawn very quickly and that Hikaru didn't even try. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, he just decided it was okay. I mean, I'm assuming Hikaru was kind of okay with going to Armageddon and didn't want to take too many chances, but I don't know. I mean,
I don't even think there was. I'm sure that he would have gone for it if he felt he had a chance, but I didn't see one.
Yeah,
it seemed like he sort of played a tricky line that caught Caruana off guard and got a nice position. And in the interim games, one of Caruana's guys told him what to do. He tried the same line again. It didn't work, and so then it's equal. What can you do?
Yeah. So then Hikaru plays. Hikaru gets black. I think I forget who won the toss. I want to say. I'm not sure actually. I'm gonna have to go back through our notes, but I'm not sure who won the toss. And would you pick? By the way, would you typically? I don't know. It might be somewhat opponent dependent, but would you pick white or black if you
if there's no increment? I would probably pick white just because I mean I'm
not like the extra
I'm not a particularly fast guy. Like if you look at my ratings on like chess.com or chess24, they're really low because like I get flagged all the time. But like when I played the speed chess championship against Ding Liren and beat him in like the 3-minute section, the 3-1 section, it's like with increment I feel like I don't get flagged, but I don't know. In a game where flagging becomes important, I think an extra minute really counts. But it depends a bit on how the match goes. Like if all Hikaru had ready for this Slav was this one idea, and then Caruana's already demonstrated very comfortable equality the second time he faced it, and he doesn't really have anything else prepared. And I guess he still firmly believes in this Queen's Gambit decline if he keeps playing it. I mean, I guess you could understand why he would rather take black.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So I guess we'll go.
I find it interesting that despite what seemed to me to be two very unpleasant positions for black in a row, that Caruana was Caruana was the first to deviate.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too.
This reminds me of his match with Nepomniachtchi when like he got like a very good position from the French and then went for the exchange variation the next time and didn't get anywhere. I don't know. It felt strange to me, but what do I know?
Yeah, and I mean, it looked like Hikaru's position, I think, was okay.
Yeah, but there were some incomprehensible decisions this game that I never got. Like knight f6. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Right.
Like, I'm genuinely curious. What did you think was going to happen when you played knight f6? Like, it's just begging for knight e5.
Sure.
There's no reason to allow this at all. And so, I mean, this structure here, like, if white needs to get e4 through, or else his position's going to suck. and knight e5 makes it a lot easier to do that. And like, I just didn't understand this game at all. I mean, and then Hikaru brings the knight back to d7 later. I mean, was getting the bishop to e6 that valuable? And then here after rook e8, like it's mind-boggling to me that Caruana doesn't like immediately go for e4. I mean, this structure is so bad for you that you have to do it. Like,
yeah, I guess
f5. I mean,
maybe he didn't want like knight f6 trading the knights, but I'm sure
come
there's
on, knight takes f6 check.
No, I know. I'm just saying this is a blitz game, so maybe he missed. I agree. There's
I mean, in blitz games,
you might even have this. I don't know, but
but then there's queen d4, bishop e3, and bishop g4. But
yeah, that's true actually.
But no, but I mean, in blitz games, people make stupid decisions all the time. I mean, in rapid, yes, you see inaccuracies, you see things go wrong. In blitz, like, I mean, you see unbelievable things. Like, in terms of the mistakes you could see in a blitz game, this is far from a serious one. But the real moment came for me where the one where I was most surprised was when Hikaru played queen a3. This was an unconscionable move to me. It's like you can make any kind of mistake in a blitz game, but like as soon as you let white play e5, like you are so completely dead. It's like you are just checkmated here. f4, f5, f6, checkmate. I mean, for me, like you have to take e4. Good or bad, this is your only decision you can make. Like, I mean, I know the computer gave queen f4, e5, queen g5, f4.
I saw this, but this. To a human,
this
looks disgusting, right?
Save this position in a blitz game. You're going to get mated, like very, very quickly too. But I mean, for me, you have to take on e4. You can't let this structure happen. And based on Hikaru's time management after queen a3 and then e5, and he started thinking, it seems likely to me that he was banking on queen a2 and had missed that there's bishop h7 now. That
maybe,
But the thing is, even if you don't have bishop h7. Like after queen a2, if like somehow white doesn't see this move or it wasn't there, I'd be shocked if f4 isn't checkmate anyway. I mean, who cares about these?
It looks pretty.
And this queen is now offsides, and like it just felt like it was one careless decision. And then I don't even think Caruana like played that accurately in the end, but he still won very, very easily. Like it's not.
Yeah, this was. It's true.
Bishop f4 was a good move, though. That one. He gets f4 through without hanging it, and then.
He just stops the counterplay with knight f5.
It feels like, I don't know. I could train my dog to win this position, and he's only 1200. But like, I mean, it felt like queen a3 was just.
Your dog is. Did you say your dog is 1200? Is that what you said?
Yes.
That's pretty strong. No, I mean.
Yeah.
You've trained.
I beat him every game except for the one where he ate my king.
Nobody knew that you were such a.
And that got his rating really high from the one upset.
Nobody knew that you were such a talented dog trainer. Also,
he's a smart dog.
Okay, you're giving the dog the credit. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, all right. So that was the match. That was the match for Fabiano. Sort of a pretty hard fought match. But the good news, I think, is that both are in a very, very good position to qualify for the semifinal. I'll try to show the standings after.
I think Hikaru is guaranteed, and Caruana would have to have a major meltdown.
He's got to be pretty much.
I mean, yeah, I think if I'm right, Hikaru is guaranteed, and then for Caruana not to make it, he'd have to have a total meltdown, and someone else would have to like score 100% or something. It feels almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
So
all right. So now let's look at the Nepomniachtchi. Nepomniachtchi has been sort of a mystery in this tournament. You know, everyone talks about how fast he's playing, and
is he a mystery in every tournament?
He is a little bit of a mystery in every tournament. I feel like he's one of the more volatile players. He's like one of the only guys out there who I can like. I mean, anyone can outscore Magnus in any given tournament if he's not like on the greatest form or whatever, but like Nepomniachtchi is one of the only guys out there whom like, you know, this guy has like could be like as good as Magnus and showing the same kind of chess when he's on form, but when he's off form he can be like really awful. It's not super common that happens, but I mean it happened against me once and I was just shocked. But yeah, you know, he's
more volatile than any other top player for sure.
Yeah. And in this tournament he's been volatile, but it's also just his approach of blitzing. Like he's playing so fast. Almost every game he's got like 15 minutes and he's well out of book. Like he just keeps playing almost instantly.
He does that in classical tournaments too.
Yeah, it's true, right? He plays super fast even in classical, right? He's fast.
Yeah, so here he's won a pawn, but his center is coming under some fire. He's got to be somewhat careful.
Yeah,
Uh,
this was an interesting game and position. I think Black was doing fairly well, but it was,
yeah, I
he
mean, that's basically the way I like the way Ding played. Basically, he said, "Look, you're not going to checkmate me. That's clearly not happening here. What you can do is go like take a pawn and hope for the best with your king never having a safe home." Around here, I thought Ding was like much better and maybe close to winning in some cases even, but somehow things went wrong for him. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe I was judging it, but
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think the computer also was giving it as like good compensation for Black. Um,
yeah.
so even the computer agreed that the
Well, White's
material was
coordination also isn't great. Like this knight on f5, like in general, I think is actually a really bad piece, and it looks funny to say that, but it's really in the way. Doesn't do very much. Like the only purpose of a knight on f5 in a structure like this one is to go give checkmate, which is no longer on the cards. Like,
right.
sure, if Black had played f6 or h6 and you can go g5 and give mate, fine. But as is, the knight on f5 actually does remarkably little for a piece that looks so active and is sort of in the way and clumsy. And
Yeah, it is a
I
little
mean,
surprising just, how Black has so much play, even though White is it's almost like White is up two pawns because they
well,
have the two center
his
pawns, but
coordination's bad. Like
yeah,
he can't play knight d2 so easily. I mean, it's hard to like.
yeah.
He really wants to keep these pawns on their present squares, but like I don't know how he's going to do that.
Yeah. Well,
It's
so
very
already
hard.
here he starts, having to push forward and
Yeah, and
it
it's
looks it looks like the tide is shifting towards
yeah. At this point
Black.
here, I was thinking Ding is going to win this game, but
Yeah, I
uh,
think I don't know if he kind of run out of time because his position was
I don't know this one here. At this point, I think that White survived the worst of it. Maybe I
yeah.
mean maybe I was just overestimating Black's position the whole way. I wasn't running the computer. I mean, so it's
No, yeah, and I didn't this one I
because
didn't have time
around
to
here, if anyone's better, it's White. But I
right.
mean, go beat Ding Liren here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, he's a good calculator, right? He doesn't lose easily. I mean, you have to
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys that are just really good defenders, and Ding is one of them.
yeah.
Caruana is another.
Yeah, I was going to name
Like,
Fabiano as the other one.
and Karyakin is also very good. But like for example, I don't even think Magnus is that great a defender. He just doesn't get bad positions very
Yeah, he
often.
doesn't get into that much trouble.
He very rarely gets outplayed, so he doesn't need to defend too often. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's
yeah,
no.
but yeah, Caruana and Ding Liren are both.
So this game here just looked like a disaster for Black. He blundered something at some point.
Yeah, this one was weird because I know Svidler, who knows the Grunfeld quite well, was talking
Really,
about this.
Spidler knows the Grunfeld well.
I'm speaking because not everyone in our audience necessarily knows everything that is obvious to you. But yes, no,
Okay.
Svidler has played Grunfeld a lot, of course. Um, and this plan, I guess, either it was preparation. You don't really know with him because he's blitzing everything. Um,
Right.
but but yeah, I mean, it's he was playing super fast, and it didn't look that bad. But apparently here, H takes G6 was a better move.
I
It's sort of an
disagree. I
what's
don't
that?
think that's correct. I don't think that's correct.
You
I'm
don't think
pretty
that's
sure.
correct? I think that's what the computer was saying, and they were talking about in the broadcast. But it is messy position for sure. But he did blunder though after in this position. Um,
It's hard for, yeah, I mean, this and then Bishop B5. I think
yeah,
this
just
looks
this one.
familiar. I think there's been a game that went this way before.
Now I think here, if he played, yeah, other moves than G5, apparently it's quite complicated and not clear.
That's my impression as well. I
Yeah,
believe I don't this position. I've never checked it for sure, but it does look familiar to me.
yeah.
I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure it's been played before.
I can turn on, I guess, my engine here.
I'm pretty sure this has been played before, and
Yeah,
that
the
Black
engine
was.
just gives Rook C8 to prevent the fork.
Yeah, okay. We have interesting position ahead of us with
Yeah,
well, clear pluses and minuses for each side. But I mean, this looks like a pretty normal position and one that I'm like 90% sure I've seen before
right.
somewhere. But
So Yeah, so it looks like he
But
plays
that
rook c8 first, and then he could consider maybe playing g5. It's just a mess, and it's
But he
interesting.
plays g5, not realizing that a3 sort of subtly creates the threat of knight c7, and
Right.
here the game's already over. Yeah.
Which a3, it's almost like it should be obvious that a3 creates a threat because the problem was bishop takes a2.
Well, it's not obvious if you move immediately.
Right. No. That's exactly the problem, I guess, with his play in this tournament is that he's in this game. I think there was a fantasy question about whether he would have less than 3 minutes in any games, and he did, but it was only after he was like completely lost that he started taking his time. So here he just doesn't have any real chances to create anything.
Yeah, rook a3 doesn't work, then queen c8 or something should be enough.
Yeah, queen c8, queen c8.
Yes, and then I can take your rook after bishop f8.
Yeah, but what if you play bishop e8? Maybe you have something. I just
queen c8.
But maybe you can probably just take the rook because this maybe it's winning. I wasn't seeing it.
This has to be winning. Like even if I go like rook d2, like what is your next move?
Well, yeah, that is true. Rook d2 might be possible. But also, what was the point on this?
Yeah, I guess the king runs.
Because once you play bishop d5, then the king can run to d1. So maybe this is just
the king can run. No, you're right.
But he played they just started making moves, and now it's already
once white
consolidates, the game was over. So sort of a bad loss here for him.
Yeah, but then he came back and just really brought the pain the next game.
Yeah, so that game was a game that shows that when he's on, he can make it look pretty easy.
Yeah, so this went somewhat different.
Something went wrong for Ding Liren in the opening here because now after bishop d2, which is an easy move to miss, I guess, ahead of time, he doesn't have a really good answer to h3 and taking the knight on h6.
You have to play f5. I mean, you're strategically so hopelessly busted if you don't do it. You just have to play f5. You might lose a pawn on e5, but you'll get a lot of activity in time.
Yeah, so f5 was the chance here, right? And
I wouldn't. My guess is white's a bit better, but I mean, you have to do this. Like you cannot just like crush your pawn structure with no counterplay.
Yeah, and I guess so. We get a sort of a position like this, and maybe you go back.
No, take on f2. Go e4.
Oh, you take on f2. Okay. So takes.
No, don't even take
e4. I see. All right. Yeah. So an interesting.
Actually, wait. After e4, there's going to be d4. So you have to take first. But yeah, you blow up the position and play it like an open Spanish. There's a line in the open Spanish where black goes and takes on f2 and blows things up as well.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, this can't be that bad for black. Like these pawns are weak. I mean, it's
the king's a little unpleasant.
Probably a bit worse, but okay. The game goes on.
Okay. Yeah. So f5 was the way the active defense, so to speak. So he goes g5, which positionally is kind of a disaster. And then after h3, knight h6, h4.
Yeah, I mean, this position is such a train wreck. I mean, and white's position is so easy to play. Like,
he's got these knights.
Things have gone very,
it did end with a rare queen blunder here.
Okay, but I mean,
did you
have a better move than resigning anyway?
No, I mean rook d6. I guess is not particular. Yeah, this is just
king h7, bishop g5. Like
no, yeah, it's horrible. King h7, bishop takes g5, as you mentioned, and actually here there's rook g8.
Have I tricked myself and been spacebarred? I've been spacebarred. Boo-hoo.
Yeah, but maybe. I mean, yeah, but this has got to be a disaster of a position anyway.
Yeah.
But okay, it was possible not to give the queen.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
but then you would think Jan would be on the heels of that, be in a good mood and ready to play a solid game with black, but he does play every move instantly in this game.
Knight takes e4. It's mind-boggling to me.
That is mind-boggling to me too. Because a position like this, at least when your pawn is on c7, or it just seems like you're down some tempos.
I mean, this is like a King's Indian. This is like a not great line of the King's Indian for white, down like at least 2 tempi.
Right.
I mean, this is really not what you want.
Yeah.
Like,
but he actually managed to get a position that I thought was still like fairly playable out of it. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, this is so unpleasant. Like,
yeah.
No, I mean, this is the best you could have expected for black, and this also sucks. Like,
yeah, I know. Play with whether you take on d4, well, which maybe just will lose a pawn. I don't know, but this pawn structure is horrible, and in the game, the one he gets is also like a free, like very easy.
Yeah, I mean, this was as good as he could ever have expected anything to go, and he's still just worse. I mean, I was actually very surprised by Ding's decision to play bishop d5 next. I thought that was very strange. I don't know why you would. I mean, I think black would be very happy to get a position with opposite bishops and 1 pawn down, and then no other.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if he was worried that, I mean, I guess what's black's plan? Try to play king f8 and c4 or something?
Yeah, bishop f1, bishop c4, and play strategically.
Right. So yeah, that more of a just try to keep things locked up makes sense. Yeah, because in the game, what he gets is by force he's winning a pawn, but it's a much easier position
Not a great
for
pawn.
black. No, yeah, and this is.
You trade enough rooks, this position is going to be a dead draw.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I'm actually curious. Did he have to play a6? Could he have tried bishop f3, or is that just crazy talk?
I don't know. Well, now you've been space barred. Now that I have the.
There's rook f5, and there is no rook c1.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I managed to blunder my f7 pawn, not to be recommended.
All
right. So a6.
But yeah, this
because I was thinking of. Yeah. Never mind.
Objectively, is probably not that bad for black.
Okay, he's suffering, but it should hold. I mean.
Yeah. Then for some reason in this position, he played really fast and then started thinking.
I should say I really dislike allowing rook d8. One thing I've noticed is let's say if you have an opposite colored bishop in rook endgame with a pawn up or something like that, I've found it's almost always in your best interest to exchange exactly 1 pair of rooks and leave the other pair on board, because I've found that double rooks makes too much counterplay, and without rooks at all, you get fortressed and blockaded. Right. You want exactly 1 pair of rooks as well as the opposite bishop. So I actually think it was
the middle ground.
Rather careless thing to allow rook d8.
Yeah, and so here. Yeah, so I guess like to your point, like if he plays rook e8, then I mean, just in the absence of something better, then white is kind of happy because 1 pair of rooks gets traded, and there's not going to be a problem with the king. So he plays rook d3, which makes sense, as long as tactically it works. And then it was almost like he mouse slipped, like maybe he was assuming king f2 was going to be played.
But how could you assume that? That's perpetual.
Well, yeah, but he played rook d2 like literally in less than 1 second. Like it was almost like a pre-move. So. So which is kind of crazy.
But why isn't rook bd8 gonna go trap this king?
Well, so that rook bd8 is the best move, and it's not clear. Like it's not so easy.
Because if you take on f7, I'm going to give rook d4 check and bishop d7 check and take 1 of your rooks.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think this is. Yeah, I mean here you got to sacrifice, and I guess black shouldn't be worse, right?
Fine. Yeah, I mean, just stick the king on h7 and you're fine.
Yeah. So on rook d8, I guess there's a move you can play bishop c5 to stop rook d4.
Sure, but now let's say like rook, I don't know, I guess rook back to d7 isn't something I really want to do to trade rooks, but it still feels like very good drawing chances. Like,
yeah, like that rook maybe.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm really not thrilled about that.
Yeah, I think the computer likes this one now, and rook f7.
You have to really be sure you know what you're doing if you give this pawn though.
No, I know. But here, I guess there's an idea. This is the idea. This was also possible. This was also possible here if you played. Rook d8, rook f7. There was also the possibility to play this.
Nowhere for the king to hide.
Yeah. So that's sort of the point of rook d8. But rook d2 after rook f7. Which then he started thinking, like here he thought for like 4 minutes. So it's really sort of a bizarre.
Unless there's something very direct, you're completely dead. So
yeah, exactly. So he goes for one of the direct ways, but none of them seem to work. The king always finds some way to hide. Rook e8 makes a lot of sense, and now there's different. You can play rook d5. You can play bishop d3. But the
Yeah,
king,
I don't know. There's bishop d3, king g4, bishop e2, king h4, and thankfully rook h2 mate is illegal.
yes, exactly. And there's still, I think there's still g5, but it just
Whoa.
doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Black's not coordinated well enough to
There
go
was
mate.
another position where if you do bishop d3 here. Yeah, so in the game you played rook
As soon as
h2, but
d7 falls, this game's finished.
yeah. The only other, there was some other, I think it was rook d5. No, rook d5. Yeah, king g4, bishop e2. And that doesn't. Yeah, and the king just hides, so that doesn't work either.
Bishop f5. Bishop f1 and king h4.
Yeah, and then this line was a little. I just when I looked at it, I thought was not as obvious, but it is. It does. You do hide because you have
G4. Bishop e2, g4. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's nice.
So it just it doesn't quite manage to get the king into trouble. So he plays rook h2, but then after rook g7, bishop d6 was a nice move to get the bishop to e5.
Yeah, but
he did find
this. We're in the anything wins territory.
This rook f2 was a nice trick. Bishop e5.
Bishop e5. This rook takes e5. Yes.
Yeah, bishop f5 and mate.
But I don't know. I mean, it's like at the same time after rook f2, it's like, what could possibly be the point of that move?
No, it's a creative way to stop bishop e5, but it's unlikely that white will play bishop e5 because it is very telegraphed that that's the one idea. Now the problem is that he's down enough that even if white decides to trade rooks, they're probably going to win fairly easily.
Oh yeah, I mean with 2 extra pawns, it's great chances. With 1 extra pawn, it's great chances. With 2 extra pawns, don't even bother. Not with 3.
And with 3. And with 3, it's not serious. So the game ended without too much more. So Ding Liren wins, and so now we have in the standings. I want to show.
If you recall, he was my quote unquote dark horse pick. I don't know how you could call someone as good as him a dark horse, but
I know it is. I think it's some players. I'm gonna show the standings here. I'll hide the live chess viewer. Show this. So the standings here, we have a pack at the top of 4 players, 3 with 11 points, 1 with 10, Fabiano Caruana, and then the rest of the pack is far behind. And so they really, for anybody but the top 4 to make it to the semifinal, you need sort of some mathematical perfection. So it's pretty unlikely.
Yeah. So it looks like you got your 4 finalists.
It does look that way, and we have the 2 Americans in there. Your dark horse, Ding Liren, has done well, and it feels like he's had a bit of a. It feels like it's been kind of a sleepy path, but he's done fine, right? Did he start by? He didn't. Did he lose his first match?
I don't think so.
Or he hasn't lost.
Now his first match he beat Fallujah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It feels like he's.
He beat Fallujah. He beat MVL in Armageddon.
I actually have it somewhere here.
Did he lose to Caruana in Armageddon, if I recall? Yeah, he was winning, and then he lost the last game, and then lost in Armageddon to Caruana. So, and then he beat someone else. He beat Nepomniachtchi here, and he beat Anish without. He beat Anish in Armageddon. He beat Nepomniachtchi without. Yeah, he's been scoring very well because he hasn't lost much in regulation yet.
The thing is, he's had 3. He's had a couple of drawn matches, I think.
And then 2, but he won 2 of the 3 Armageddon games, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think he won. He won Armageddon against. Did he win against MVL in Armageddon? I don't.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he won in like 10 moves in an exchange Slav.
That's right. That was the exchange Slav where.
Well, it wasn't an exchange Slav. It was a Slav where white went knight c3 and then black went bishop f5, allowing.
Yeah, and there was somebody sent me a very interesting variation. If instead of king d8 you play king e7, and in a blitz game, I think it's hard for white to find the correct path because you want to play rook d8 and take on d4. It's pretty tricky, but
okay, great. But in the meantime, go play king e7 in the blitz game.
Well, it only works if it's preparation, I think. But the whole thing was a crazy Armageddon game. But yeah, no, Ding Liren has done very well, and I think also Peter Svidler likes him as a dark horse pick for this.
Svidler's a smart cookie.
He is. And so who do we have? So tomorrow Tomorrow we have Magnus playing against Nepomniachtchi, who apparently has one of the better scores of anyone against Magnus. So
Not
we'll
as of
see.
late, though.
Yeah,
That
not
was
not so much as of late, but we'll see how he does. How he does tomorrow. If if he plays super fast, it's definitely a little dangerous against Magnus.
if
Um,
he plays super fast and plays the French, I don't think it will last very long.
it might be a super fast game, but yeah, I don't know. Magnus doesn't always play the most ambitious lines in these rapid games. Like he could play, he takes d5 or something. I don't know if he'll go for a main line, whatever.
I will endlessly make fun of him if he does that, but
Yeah, the French variation of the French. But hey, and then Faruja is playing against Anish Giri. I guess the two guys who are lower in the standings,
Mhm.
and uh, and then the following day, Hikaru is playing against Ding Liren, a tough match, and Fabiano against MVL. So, but uh, but yeah, for the final four, it looks like it's unlikely that it changes. So we'll see. But thanks for your insight today. It's nice to
my
hear about the
pleasure.
the Rook D8
Yeah,
variation is, and it's interesting that Fabiano adjusted his gear for the second time we
yeah. I
faced
mean,
it.
I wish I could say it was because he was studying my course, but my guess is it
Maybe he
wasn't.
was.
But
Uh,
yeah, it does say a lot that look, two very strong players clearly reached the same conclusion about this move, so it's probably pretty good, and it shows that the course, well, knowing that would have been valuable enough to have probably spared a very strong player a defeat in a super tournament. So I think that's a pretty strong advertisement for the course.
I agree. I agree. And I've been going very slowly because I've been busy, but I've been very slowly going through the course, and I'm enjoying it myself. So I think it's there's a lot of good
Are you
stuff in
actually
this.
enjoying it, or are you just being a polite Canadian on me?
No, I am truly enjoying it. I've been I just wish I was going faster. I feel like at this rate there's a lot of material. It's going to take me like 2 years to get through it. But I
I
am
get
I am truly enjoying it. I'm not making it up. But I can't say I've gone deep enough to test, like, I'm not going to say like all the lines are absolutely unbelievable and I'm always going to win all of my games with black. Like it's not one of these endorsements. I'm enjoying it. I think the material is really good and well
yeah,
explained, and I'm going through it. But so that's all I can say.
fair deal.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Sam, and thanks everybody for tuning into the after show. I was a little bit late to start because of my other stream finishing, but hopefully this was enjoyable. And yeah, we'll have you back again soon, Sam. And thanks.
Yep, we'll do. Have a good one.
See you guys.